Welcome to Rania Madam. ITRTCPLCT welcome Madam on behalf of Anjuman Islam Janjira Degree College of Science, Murud-Janjira. ITRTCPLCT welcome Madam on behalf of Anjuman Islam Janjira Degree College of Science, Murud-Janjira. Hello, Rania Madam, I am audible.
Hello, yes. Good morning.
Hello, Rani ma'am.
Yes.
Very good morning.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
So fine. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Here I'm at the Greek.
Okay.
I am at the Greek ministry, and I was searching for a room here.
Hello, Bhanarkar sir. My voice is audible and clear. Bhanarkar sir.
Yes,
Or
yes.
Sajid sir.
Yes,
Sajid
yes,
sir.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is.
My voice is clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. Brijesh sir, have you joined? Brijesh sir?
Hello, yeah, I'm there online. Thank you.
Yeah. Highest welcome, sir.
Thank you
From the
for your
Anjuman
kind
Islam Janjira Degree College of Science.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
We'll start sharp at 11. Just we are waiting for the 5 minutes.
कैसे तू इधर है?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Qul huwa Allahu ahad. Allahu samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful.
Thank you. We are very fortunate to have between us such a great personalities to make our day a successful one. Our honorable keynote presenter, Dr. Rania Lampu, our respected resource persons, Dr. Brijesh Sharma, Dr. Yusuf Sheikh, Dr. Rajani Panjnang, and Dr. Bala Sahib Gaikar. The fragrance of flowers sprayed just in the direction of wind, but the goodness of a person sprayed in all directions. Now, I would like to call our principal, Dr. Sajid Sheikh sir, for welcome address.
Thank you, Aisha. It's my duty to welcome once again the dignitaries and key resource persons present for this particular gracious conference. On behalf of Anjuman Janjira, Degree College of Science, Murud-Janjira, I am welcome all the resource persons as well as the delegates who participated from across the globe. Today it is a pleasure moment for us. There is this particular that we can say the international knowledge exchange program is there, and this I can talk about few about our college. Anjuman Janjira is one of the oldest education trust established in the year 1907, and this trust especially focus on the upliftment of the Muslim community student to cater the valuable that education basically in the Urdu medium. Trust not only stopped by catering the school education, also started the technical education. Then in 2009, this particular senior degree college has been established. Earlier, the strength of that college was very less. And nowadays, college is going to develop qualitatively. It is one of the non-grant college and first in Taluka, which is accredited by the NAC with the B grade. It is again one of the milestone in our history. Every year, this college organizes the different activities and the workshops which are useful for the students and the society. From last 5 years, a result of this college for the final year examination is 100%. Apart from the online, in offline examination, student of this college score more than above the 95%. College not stop over here. Work hard to have the post graduation education in the college. So from this academic year 21-22, this college started the MSc in chemistry and MSc in botany, and also looking for the research center in the near future. This college requires the blessing from yours and your kind supports, and as well as the valuable guidance for the betterment in near future. The student of this college not only academically strong but also proven the quality in the extracurricular activities. The student of this college take part in the cultural, sports, social work, different workshop, conferences, and the research activities. This year, this college got the Best College Award along with the chairman, teacher, and the non-teaching staff of this college received the Best Award from the Proton Maharashtra. This college also felicitated by the Tehsildar Murud and the district collector for making the active participation in the voters awareness campaign. This is the short information about the college. Much more is there, but the time limits. So once again, I will welcome and I will thank to all that particular key resource person who joined with us. Here we have the total cloud of the 200 peoples are there join across the globe, and I can say the proudly There are the 86 research paper submitted by the different delegates, and there will be the presentation of such a nice papers depend upon this particular whole theme of our conference. Once again, welcome on behalf of the Anjuman Islam Engineer Degree College of Science, and over to the Aisha.
Thank you, sir. Before calling our honorable guest, Dr. Rania Lampu, I would like to introduce ma'am. She has been awarded many national and international prizes over 130. Not only these, she got Global Teacher Award, AKS Awards in 2020 and 2021. She is also the founder and international coordinator of many innovative international projects that focus on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals described in the 2030 Agenda. She is also an author of scientific books for kids. She is Ambassador of National Education Policy 2020 of India. We feel really very fortunate to have such a great personality between us. Now, I will request Dr. Rania ma'am to address the gathering.
Greetings from Greece. Can you hear me?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Okay. I'm very honored. I'm very excited to be here today, invited on this very enriching and resourceful conference. And I want to thank Dr. Murali for his kind invitation. Today, we're going to explore how artificial intelligence is transforming the educational industry, how we can unleash the power and all the benefits of AI in education, but at the same time, we highlight all these challenges, the fears and concerns it poses, and how policymakers can deal with this new challenge. So may I share my presentation? Is it visible now? Can you see now? Can you see now my presentation? Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
madam. Yes,
Visible.
madam.
Visible.
It is
Okay, okay. Can you see also the change of slides?
Yes, it's working.
Okay, okay. So according to Max Tegmark, life is defined as a process that can retain its complexity and replicates and can develop through three stages. The biological stage, 1.0, where its hardware and software are evolved. The cultural stage, 2.0, where it can design its software through learning. And the technological stage 3.0, where it can design its hardware as well, becoming the master of its own destiny. So artificial intelligence may enable us to launch life 3.0 this century, and the fascinating conversation has sprung up regarding what future we should aim for and how this can be accomplished. Our intelligence is what makes us human, and AI is an extension of that quality. Technological advancement is driving changes in many industries. AI technology is advancing quickly, creating solutions once thought impossible. So it's widely available in various technologies, and of course in education, because learning always has been and always will be a foundational part of humanity, regardless of age. We're constantly developing new understandings. So as our collective intelligence improves, we're beginning to create machines that have human-like abilities and learn and make strategic decisions. Artificial intelligence, of course, is not an entirely new technology, so subject to discuss. And although it hasn't made any such crazy waves, in many ways has quietly become ubiquitous in numerous aspects of our daily lives. While it hasn't gone as they have expected, yet the technology is here and is driving changes in all industries, from the intelligence sensors that help us take perfect pictures to the automatic parking features in cars, to the sometimes frustrating personal assistance in smartphones. Artificial intelligence of one kind or another is all around us all the time. And may we may not see humanoid robots as teachers within the next decades. There are already many projects in the works that use computer intelligence to help students and teachers get more out of educational experience. Global adoption of technology in education is transforming the way we teach and learn, and artificial intelligence is one of the most disruptive techniques to customize the experience of different learning groups, teachers, and tutors. It is not just transforming the way teachers can do their job, it is also revolutionizing the way students learn. So we know that artificial intelligence is the branch of science producing and studying the machines, and that the simulation of human intelligent processes, and the main, of course, objective is to optimize the routine processes, improving their speed and efficiency, provided, of course, that it has implemented supported properly. And AI tools mostly comply three basic principles: learning, self-correction, reasoning. Here you can see how I presented in four forms: assisted intelligence, automation, augmented intelligence, autonomous intelligence. And it's actually it's a system that seems smart on the basic level, is where a machine seems human-like and can imitate human behavior. And these behaviors include problem solving, co-learning, planning, which are achieved through analyzing data and identifying patterns within in order to replicate those behaviors. And we have also machine learning. Machine learning is, on the other hand, a type of artificial intelligence. Is where machines are taking in data and learning things about the world that would be difficult for humans to do. So machine learning can go beyond human intelligence, and is also primarily used to process large quantities of data very quickly using algorithms that change over time and get better at what they're needed to do. For instance, a manufacturing plant might collect data from machines and sensors on its network in quantities far beyond what any human is capable of processing. So, what happens with so far with according to the market research engine, the global AI usage in education is estimated to have a growth rate of 45%. It's predicted to reach $6 billion by 2025. So we're talking a bigger global market. So why it is important in the education sector? The purpose behind any application of artificial intelligence is not to replace teachers, but give them helping hand in understanding the potential and the limitations of each student. The use of AI in education has given a completely new perspective of looking at education to teachers, students, parents, and of course, education institutions as well. First of all, we talk about task automation or automate administrative tasks. AI has been used, as I said before, in many industries to automate tasks, and this will come in handy the same way in the education sector. Why? Because we all know that professors, teachers usually have to manage the classroom environment alongside numerous administrative and organizational tasks. We all know that teachers don't just teach. We also spend a lot of time grading tests, evaluating homework, filling the necessary paperwork, making progress reports, organizing resources and materials. So we manage teaching materials, etc. It's a lot of work involved. In the end, we spend a lot of time on non-teaching tasks, and this is something that overwhelms us. AI can, of course, step in and make a quick work out of this task, while at the same time offering recommendations for how to close these gaps in learning. Although machines can already grade multiple choice tests, for instance, they're very close to being able to assess written responses as well. So as AI steps in to automate the administrative tasks, it opens up more time for teachers to spend with its students, so there is much potential for AI to create more efficient enrollment and administration processes. So the artificial intelligence will automate these tasks to have more time to do the primary work of teaching without being bothered with all this administration or burden. Very, very important, we talk about personalized, differentiated, and individualized learning, because the main advantage is actually the possibility to train to perform a long list of tasks, offering in such a way a personalized approach to education. It's a universal solution to get a set of tools tailored to the specific needs of learners and educators to optimize the routine, to increase efficiency, accessibility, and scale the processes. So adjusting learning based on individuals, students' particular needs has been, of course, a priority for educators for years. So AI now will allow us a level of differentiation that it's impossible, of course, for teachers who have to manage 30 students in each class. Already, there are several companies currently developing intelligent instruction design and digital platforms that use AI to provide learning, testing, feedback to students from pre-K to college level that gives them the challenges that are ready for, that identifies gaps in knowledge and redirects to new topics when it's appropriate. So as AI gets more sophisticated, it might be possible for a machine to read the expression, for instance, that passes on a student's face that indicates that they're struggling to grasp a subject. And this way, we can modify a lesson to respond to this. The idea of customizing curriculum for every student's need, of course, is not viable today, but it will be for all AI-powered machines. Education software can be adapted to student needs. From kindergarten to graduate school, artificial intelligence will impact education through the application of greater levels of individualized learning. So we have already some software respond to the needs of students, and this software are already adaptive. We have games, programs for students. This use of AI is probably one of its most significant in education. And this creates what we call custom tailored education. Teachers will only be there to offer support and help, of course, when students need it. This kind of custom tailored education could be a machine-assisted solution to helping students at different levels work together in a classroom, with teachers facilitating with learning and offering help and support when needed. So we talk about personalized education, and of course here we have the universal access for all students. Artificial intelligence tools can help make global classrooms available to all, including those who speak different languages or those who might have visual or hearing impairments. For instance, we all know the free plugin in PowerPoint that creates subtitles in real time, the presentation translator, creates subtitles in real time for what the teacher is saying. And this opens up, of course, possibilities for students who might not be able to attend school due to English or who require learning at a different level or a particular subject that isn't available in their own school. The use of AI classrooms makes learning universally accessible for all students, whether a student is slow learning or unable to attend school due to an illness or injury, or even students located in remote areas. AI education is a blessing for them. And it helps to overcome geographical barriers in learning. Students located anywhere around the world can learn from the best teachers through the use of AI in education. And this helps us create smart content. Smart content is a very hot subject matter today because, for instance, robots can produce digital content of similar quality. This technology has already reached the classroom setting. Smart content includes virtual content like video conferencing, video lectures. Of course, here I can imagine that how textbooks they are taking a new turn because AI systems are using traditional syllabuses to create customized textbooks for certain subjects. And as a result, textbooks are being digitalized and new learning interfaces are being created to help the students of all academic grades and ages. So AI can help students create smart content that makes teaching or learning more comfortable with them, can help them create different content, can help create bite-sized learning, study guides, digital textbooks, and also simulation, visualization, all that are different ways, web-based study environments are different ways to perceive information that AI can power. And of course, all this learning content can be generated and updated regularly with the use of AI. This ensures that information is up to date. And this helps teachers because teachers now have a comprehensive information available to them at their fingertips. This allows teachers to keep themselves educated in things that they didn't know or improve on their past knowledge. And with this, they will be better rounded and have more in-depth and broader knowledge base to see with the 21st century students. And we talk about identified classroom weaknesses. Well, no, the primary fear of introducing AI into an industry is that it will replace the industry workers and people will lose their jobs. This, of course, isn't entirely true. In fact, in education, said before, AI is not meant to replace teachers, it's meant to complement them. So AI can complement the teacher's work in the classroom to identify some of the weaknesses within the classroom. By alerting teachers, and they know they have to reteach the material before the students don't understand it yet. And this will make teachers more accountable, make them adhere to the best teaching practices. Tutoring is another important aspect. Tutoring and study programs are becoming more advanced thanks to artificial intelligence. So soon they will be more available and able to respond to a range of learning styles. There are many more AI applications for education that are being developed, including AI mentors for learners, further development of smart content, and the new method of personal development for educators through virtual global conferences. Here we talk about assistance because students this way don't have to wait long anymore. Several AI-powered chatbots are specifically built for education, and they work as assistants, as students' assistants around the clock to provide answers to their queries at any time. So they don't have, students don't have to wait to see the prof in their office or classroom. And this is very important because we talk about the constructive feedback. These programs that are powered by AI can provide valuable feedback, and these use can point out to teachers how to improve instructions provided to learners, how to make learning more fun and interesting. And AI also can make trial and error learning less intimidating. Trial and error is a critical part of learning, but for many students, the idea, of failing or even not knowing the answer is paralyzing. So an intelligent computer system designed to help students to learn is much less daunting a way to deal with the trial and error. Because this could offer students a way to experiment and learn in a relatively judgment-free environment, especially when AI tutors can offer solutions for improvement. Data powered by AI can change how schools find teachers support students, and this is from recruiting to help the students choose the best courses. Intelligent computer systems are helping make every part of the college experience more closely tailored to students' needs. We can leverage, by leveraging the best attributes of machines and teachers, the vision of AI in education is one where we work together for the best outcome of our students. Teachers will supplement lessons, assist students who are struggling, provide human interaction and hands-on experiences for students, and in many ways technology is already driving some of these changes in the classroom, especially in schools that are online or embrace the flipped classroom model. We talk about altering how we find and interact with information, and also we talk about the global learning because education has no limits. AI can help to eliminate boundaries. Technology brings drastic transitions by facilitating the learning of any course from anywhere across the globe at any time. And this AI-powered education equips students with fundamental IT skills. And we talk about new efficiencies. Schools can define appropriate methods of preventing students from getting lost in crowds when they run in corridors, for instance, or AI can be used in the modeling of complex data to enable the operations department to create data-driven forecasts. And this in turn allows proper planning for the future, for example, assigning seats during school functions or ordering food from local cafeterias. We'll talk about also the change of role of teachers. So how this could be implemented? What are the things that we need to consider before implementing AI in schools? Of course, we need to identify the role of AI in schools, the key processes that they use will automate, or we need to take into consideration the challenges of teaching AI in schools and how to overcome them. How to align AI with the existing environment in school, how to make the transition process from whiteboard to AI classrooms, and in order to make the transitions smoother as possible, and how to use AI in schools to provide actionable insights for effective decision making. And how to start implementing AI. Of course, we need to identify your needs in AI technologies, to define the strategic objectives of AI transformation in the organization, to make the right technology meter and smart ways to control the outcome of AI transformation. How here we can see also that, as I already said, nothing can replace teacher. However, a technology can expand teaching. So far we have seen what are the new trends for 2022, intelligent tutors, reading workshops, and translation capabilities, low vision accessibility. Many companies that promote these new trends. And also here we can mention AI in digital assistants that could help K-12 teachers manage classrooms. Now the next generation cybersecurity solutions integrate AI technology. How chatbots rely on AI to improve communication and tutoring. So we can see here also what happens in higher education sector. New AI PhDs will have who choose industry jobs have increased by 48% in the past decade, and this has increased it to 65% in 2019. So we can see how this is a trend also in higher education sector. And here we can see some examples. For instance, in Burlington Nuance, it's an application which makes speech recognition software, and this technology can transcribe up to 160 words per minute. The software enhances spelling ability and word recognition. We have other examples. New York and Newton creates adaptive learning technology for higher education, and its program is called ALTA, helps identify gaps in students' knowledge. And this helps instructors teach at different educational levels. It's currently used for math, chemistry, statistics. We have in Texas another program which is called Aquarium. It uses AI to deliver customizable STEM tutoring lessons to high school. And this gives teachers insights into students' learning habits. In London, we have another adaptive learning program, contains algorithms that help educational institutions collect data and increase learner engagement. Blipar's products combine computer vision, intelligence technology, and augmented reality to enhance the way students learn in the classroom. And these interactive materials bring subjects like geography, biology, and physics. Another tutoring program is developed for use on laptops, and this platform combines human interaction with artificial intelligence to provide students with custom programs. This technology helps students understand why they're correct, where they went wrong. Another also application, synthesizes course and quiz results. And in San Francisco, Quizlet will know about this, how this platform uses machine learning and data for millions of study sessions to show students the most relevant study material. And now what about the fears? Because we need also to talk about these challenges. There is actually argument come from two different places. On one hand, we see sometimes AI as one of the most fundamental transformative technologies that we have ever seen in the history of mankind. And on the other hand, this transformative power is something that we should be scared of and we be wary about. AI is transformative, of course, but if AI is transformative, this has the power to be transformative for both good and bad reasons. However, fear, you know, the fear of the unknown has always been the case with technology from the web to the internet. So is AI something that we should be scared of? And the fears of AI seem to stem from a few common causes: general anxiety about machine learning, the fear of mass unemployment, concerns about superintelligence, putting the power of AI into the wrong people's hands, and general concern and caution when it comes to new technology. Apart from this, for instance, when we talk about superintelligence, probably the biggest fear of AI making media waves is that of superintelligence, or that AI will reach a point where it doesn't care or about the existence of humanity anymore. Such as what happens with the Skynet, the Terminator series of movies. So the technology will get to a point maybe where it can teach itself and improve and invent on its own. And instead of becoming a force of betterment of humanity, humanity becomes a servant of technology. The fear is that our brains will not just be able to keep up with advancement, development, and invention after a certain point, because things will be moving away too fast. So computer systems could very well reach a point when they maybe outstrip the human creators, and what this could mean for humanity when we reach this point. All of these, of course, are fears and concerns. Let's not forget something here. The philosopher Luciano Floridi tells us that, reminds us of how several developments in history that threaten to diminish humanity, human dignity, also people fear this. We can mention how Copernicus showed that we are not at the center of the universe. Sigmund Freud also showed that we're not at the center of the psychosphere or space of reason. That man showed that we're not at the center of the biosphere. Turing showed that we're not at the center of infosphere. So all these blows were not easy to take, and also sometimes they were violently resisted. Let's not forget also that every major AI in existence today is domain specific. On the other hand, human intelligence isn't like this, it's domain general, because, for instance, our ability to play chess doesn't preclude our ability to play tennis or write a song. Most of us can do any of these things if we want to. Of course, we can mention the three main camps of controversy. We have the technoskeptics, those who view building a superhuman AI as so hard that it won't happen for hundreds of years, making it silly to worry about it. We have digital utopians, and those who view it as like the century will happily welcome Life 3.0, viewing it as a natural and desirable next step. And the beneficial AI movement, which actually views AI as a good outcome, not as guaranteed, but as something that needs to be ensured by hard work in the form of AI safety research. And before concluding, we should mention and highlight what happens with policymakers. Policymakers, educators have entered uncharted territory that raises fundamental questions of how the future of learning will interact with AI. And in 2019, UNESCO, in cooperation with the government of the People's Republic of China, organized the International Conference on Artificial Intelligence Education, Beijing, under this theme, how to plan in the AI era. In this conference examined the system-wide impact of AI in education, It was here that the basic consensus was adopted and released as the first ever document to offer recommendations on how best to harness AI technologies for Sustainable Development Goal 4 for Education 2030 Agenda, as the United Nations also prescribes. So this consensus recommends that UNESCO develops guidelines and resources to support the capacity building of education policymakers, integration of AI skills into all these frameworks. The remaining reports that you can see about this, what UNESCO and the United Nations recommend. Actually, the bottom line is that the use of AI in education must be guided by the core principles of inclusion and equity. All these policies should promote equitable, inclusive access to AI and the use of AI as a public good with focus on empowering girls and women in disadvantages groups. This AI technology will benefit humanity if it enhances human-centered approaches to pedagogy and if it respects ethical norms and standards. This way, it should be geared to improving learning for every student, parents, teachers, and strengthening learning management systems. So thank you very much for your attention. This intelligence is a tool, not a threat. Of course, if you have any question, I am at your disposal.
Thank you, ma'am, for your nice knowledge. Now, I would like to call our honorable chief guest for the day, Dr. Brijesh Sharma.
Thank you.
Brijesh Sharma, sir. He has more than 8 years of research experience in chemical science. He is an excellent in written and oral communication skills as evidenced by 10 peer-reviewed scientific publications in high-impact international journals and presentations in international conferences. He is also awarded Junior Research Fellowship by CSIR, National Eligibility Test India, New Delhi. He has ranked All India 46.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind introduction. I'm trying to share my screen, but unfortunately I cannot. Hello. I'm just trying to share my screen, but it's not working. Yeah.
You can share, sir, now.
Yeah. Thank you. Just let me see. Just a moment, I'm trying. Yeah. Sorry for the delay. Yeah. I hope in the audience there are like few chemists and like the students who are interested in learning chemistry. So I hope this presentation will motivate them to pursue their career in the flow chemistry. So basically today I will be talking about the flask chemistry to microreactor technology, like how it has like found as an like a important tool for modern synthesis. Like from this image you can clearly see that the alchemy used to use this kind of a big pot, and this is how the today's reactor looks like. So as we proceed further, I think the students can get more feel of doing the flow. So like today's presentation, I would like to dedicate in the memory of Professor Grubbs. A number of times along the way, I thought the journey was complete. However, the reactions keep fooling me. It will be interesting to see where it leads next. He is like a Nobel laureate, and like he is no more. He expired like this year. So it's like a big loss to the scientific community. So this is how an organic chemist they are trained in, or like they see reactors. Basically, whenever I will be using a reactor term, it means that anything in which we can do a reaction, that is called a reactor. So our MSc, BSc, or like maybe in the industry, we see this kind of reactors, and basically these are the setups which the organic chemists are trained in doing the reactions. And this is the unit operation, that how we do a chemical synthesis, like setting up of setting up of the reaction, then doing the like the extraction, doing the solvent evaporation, then purification, then either you use the column purification or you use the distillation. So these are the way in which we do the traditional way of synthesis. In flow, we will be doing the same thing, but the way of doing will be a little different. So I will give you the idea how it is done in the flow. So before going into the flow, let's see the advantages and the disadvantages of the batch. So in batch, if we see the reactors, they looks like this. The advantage is like in a single reactor, we can do multiple kinds of different chemistry or different reactions. And then the capital cost to make these reactors are like less. But the disadvantage is like it is kind of a like a laborious, expensive to maintain. The mixing, mass transfer, and heat transfer, like these are some scientific parameters which are difficult to control when we do the reaction on this much huge scale. And the biggest problem while dealing with this kind of reactors is like when some reaction gets uncontrolled, you can clearly see in this cartoon, then it can create like a dangerous runaway situation, which is not good. So this is a SciFinder report which clearly shows that this flow technology or flow chemistry is getting a lot of attention over the past few decades. So basically, what is flow chemistry? Flow chemistry is something like you keep pumping the reagent from one end and keep collecting the product at the other end. It is similar to like what we do in the HPLC or maybe the GC. And the beautiful example of flow is like the human body, where the chemistry is happening continuously in the arteries, in the veins, and the pump is done by the heart. In case of doing the flow chemistry, we need to use the artificial pumps like HPLC pumps or maybe the syringe pump. Whereas if we do a batch chemistry, basically what we do, we put like the reagents, we dump the reagents in this round bottom flask, keep the reaction stirring, and this is how we do a traditional batch chemistry. So let's compare between the batch and the flow chemistry. So if we see a batch chemistry, the batch reactors, they look like this. The internal size, if we see, it is like from few milliliters to kiloliters. Whereas if we see a flow reactors can look like of any shape. This can be like a tube or like 3D printed device, or like the 3D printed metal device, this kind of a stainless tube, anything which is in the form of a capillary or a tube can be used to do a flow. So let's move on to some details of using the flow. If we do a batch chemistry, generally if we do take the organic phase and the aqueous phase, it generally forms a like both of these two phases separates when we keep these two components in a batch. Whereas when we keep these two components in this capillary, it forms this kind of like a droplet arrangement. So basically, the reason is there is no influence of gravity in this flow capillaries. Whereas if we see the diffusion time, basically how the reaction happens, basically the faster the diffusion, faster will be the mixing, faster will be the interaction between the molecules, and faster will be the product formation. So if we see, if the size of this tube is like 1 micrometer, which is present in the bacteria, the diffusion time is like 0.005 seconds. So it means the reaction is done in this much time frame. Whereas this window is not possible for an organic chemist to use. So basically we go with this 1 mm tube, where the diffusion time is 8 minutes, which is still better compared to what we do in the batch, which takes like few hours or like few days. And like this is the anatomy of the reactor. So basically here are the inlets to feed the starting material. And to feed the starting material, we use this kind of pumps like the syringe pump or the HPLC pump or maybe the peristaltic pump. These are the T joints, like where the mixing happens. These are the different reactors which will be assembled at this part. And then after the reaction is done, we will use this kind of a separator to separate the organic and the aqueous phase. So see, basically this is the experimental setup when we do a flow chemistry. These are the two reagents, A and B. They get mixed at this T joint. Reaction happens, and then from using this syringe pump, we add some quenching reagent like NaCl or water, so that we can quench the reaction and collect the sample in this in the vial. So basically, just for the field, this is how the flow chemistry works, and you can clearly see the reaction happens at such a fast rate. So like, let's see the benefits of flow versus the batch. The biggest advantage in flow is like the size which is less than 1 mm to 6 mm. Mixing is very fast. Heat and mass transfer is very fast. And then nowadays, as like in the previous talk, we heard about the artificial intelligence that has also been incorporated with the flow, which is an added benefit. So basically, if we want to do a mixing in the batch, so for example, this is how it happens. It starts from the center, and then how the mixing keeps going. Whereas when we do a reaction in the capillary, the mixing happens axially. Whereas when we do a mixing in the batch, it happens like kind of a radially. So this is the two difference between the flow and the batch mixing. In the flow, these kinds of mixers we use to mix the solutions so that they can react at a faster rate. In fact, if we see the heat transfer, if you can see, like this image is the heat transfer in the batch, whereas this is the heat transfer image in the flow. We can clearly see that here there is a color gradient, which means the mixing is not uniform, whereas in this case the mixing is uniform, which shows that the flow really has a good advantage. Another thing is, like, if there is a runaway reaction in the batch, everything get burst and it creates a lot of damage. Whereas the volume of the flow reactors are small, so even if the damage happens, it doesn't create a big issue. So that is another benefit of using the flow. And in this flow chemistry, we can do all different kinds of chemistry, like toxic chemistry, explosive, high temperature, photochemistry, as well as electrochemistry. So almost everything can be done in the flow. Yeah. So after the reaction is done, basically this is how we used to separate our organic from the aqueous phase. Whereas in the flow nowadays, people have designed this kind of device where you continuously keep pumping this kind of mixture of organic and aqueous, which we can clearly see that red color and white color is mixed here. And as it passed from this, red color separates out, whereas this organic aqueous phase separates out. So both this phase keep separating continuously. And this is the internal structure which is present in this membrane. Like there is basically a membrane. When you pass the mixture of organic and aqueous phase from here, this membrane is like a hydrophobic. It repels the organic phase, whereas the water will go inside, and in this way we can separate both the phases. So let me show you few case study. For example, like if you want to do some Grignard reaction, I think everyone is aware about the Grignard reaction. So when we add the alkane and the magnesium is there in this round bottom flask, what we can see immediately the reaction becomes very vigorous, and you can clearly see that that how much strong effervescence is happening in this RB. So just imagine if you are doing this reaction on a larger scale, it can really create a problem. Sorry, yeah. So in flow, if you want to do this, so this is a kind of a column in which we fill or pack the magnesium. From one end, we pass the alkyl halide, and at the other end, we generate the Grignard. And even like we can clearly see in the batch, it takes 12 hours, whereas in the flow, it just takes 1.5 hours to complete the reaction. So in flow, the efficiency is much more high. Another case study is like, I think everyone might have read about this famous reaction, which is called as Fries rearrangement. So if we do this reaction in batch, basically this is the starting material for Fries rearrangement. So basically what we do, we generate the anion at this point, and then it undergoes intramolecular rearrangement, and this group shifts from this and goes here. And it takes like 628 milliseconds. Whereas when you do this reaction in flow, and if you can stop this reaction in 0.33 milliseconds, there is no Fries rearrangement happening. And then you can quench this anion by some electrophilic species. So in this way, using the flow, you can tune the reactivity by controlling the time of quenching. So this thing cannot be done in the batch. You cannot stop any reaction in 0.33 milliseconds, whereas we can do that in the flow. So let me show some current research work which I am doing. So basically we have developed some like this kind of a system where we can continuously feed the solids, and they will mix here. And as they continue to move from this end to this end, the reaction is done. And then we continuously collect the product at the base. For example, there is one famous reaction that we have done. I think this reaction is already been in the MSc or maybe the BSc, diazotization reaction. In this spot, we have generated the diazonium salt, and in this spot, there is beta-naphthol in NaOH. Both these solutions are pumped through this reactor, and you can clearly see as the solution mix here, it immediately forms a red color Sudan dye. This is the structure when this diazonium and this beta-naphthol, they mix. And we have showed that we can make 1 kilo of this material using our reactor. Apart from that, I think the students who are doing the research, they might be using the NMR instrument. And for NMR, we need to use this important solvent called CDCl3. And we have like developed a flow process by which we can make this CDCl3 with a purity of 99.99%. I'm very much pressing this word 99.99 because even if it is 99.98, the cost or the price of the CDCl3 changes. So which means the purity has a lot of importance to deal with money in case of commercial products. As well as we have also showed that like this is an kind of an insecticide, and we can degrade this insecticide, and then we can convert that into something useful, which is called a paracetamol, which is useful a drug which is used as a painkiller, and like how the setup looks like. So like, and recently in our previous talk, Dr. Lampog has focused about automation. So this is one of the beautiful example where when the group from MIT, they have come up with this compact refrigerator where you have to just feed the starting material, and then the reaction will happen in this, purification will be done in this, and the product will come out in the form of a tablets directly. So everything like inline, no need of human intervention in this. So this is one of the very beautiful example of combination of artificial intelligence with the flow. So this is another next level. In this case, you just feed the molecule that you want to synthesize. The computer will automatically do the retrosynthesis, how to make this molecule, and then using the cloud computing, they will send the message to the vendors. They will place the order, the chemicals will come, just put it in the rack, and then the system will start working. This is how the level of flow has reached, and this work is again from the MIT. And like this is the last part of my talk, which where I will show that though flow has a lot of advantages, but still a lot of challenges, such as end-to-end synthesis of API still needs to be addressed in the flow. And like during my 3 years of experience in this area, when I talk with the organic chemist, what I realized that the organic chemists, they don't want to leave their traditional approach of using the flask or the RBs and switch to the flow. So what I see that there is not a technical barrier, there is a kind of a psychological barrier. So the motto behind today's presentation is like, I want to motivate the young students so that they can pursue their research in this field. And then finally, I would like to thank my group with whom I have done this kind of work. And then I would like to thank the organizing committee and the chairman, Dr. Sheikh, for giving me the opportunity to present my research work. And like, thank you for the time and patience. If any question is there, please feel free to ask. I think I have completed my presentation in time.
Yes, sir. I have the one question is that I'm audible. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, I am audible. Yeah, you are audible. Yeah, sir. Please continue.
Sharma, sir.
Yeah.
I want the more. I want the more elaboration on that. You are basically the and also the student of the one of the affiliated college KMC of Mumbai University, and then how you go there and how you did that, all these things, but on that you can motivate to our students, sir.
Okay, yeah. So basically, I have done my BSc from KMC College, Khopoli. I think it is just like 3 hours from Murud-Janjira. And then while doing my BSc, I realized that if I want to understand this field, I need to go to Department of Chemistry, University of Mumbai. So finally, after having some good marks in BSc, I could make the place. And then after going to the department, I met with few professors who are expertise in this area, who motivated me to pursue the PhD in the field of chemistry. And then I luckily I could qualify the NET, and then I joined the CSR National Chemical Laboratory in Pune, where I did my work in photosynthesis of natural products. And then after spending 6 years in that field, I realized that there is something which needs to be changed in the way we do the routine synthesis. Then I switched my area from chemistry to chemical engineering, and now I am working on this like flow chemistry, which is called as a future of chemistry. Maybe in a time span of 10 years, this subject will be introduced even to the BSc students, I hope. And so like what I want to say that the students who are really interested in doing chemistry, the sky is limit for them. In India, the good opportunities like they can qualify the NET exam with good marks, and then they can get the entry into the IITs or ISER or maybe to the CSR labs, and then they really have good life thereafter. So instead of stopping the career at the BSc or MSc stage and looking for a job of 10 or 20,000 rupees is not good. I will definitely motivate the students to continue their study and do a PhD so that they can have a better contribution to the scientific community. Yeah.
Nice, sir. Nice, sir. It is motivational. If anybody has any question, they can freely ask, because there is section for the interaction.
I'm expecting at least one question from the MSc or BSc students on the chemistry. At least one question. This is how I think the students should come up and speak so that they can really like get an opportunity to grow. So at least 1 or 2 questions should be raised from the students' side. I think no student is asking any question. It means
And,
they understood what
Shoaib sir?
I speak today.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir. Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Any question is there? Please ask.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Some student is asking that while selecting the subjects for the master MSc,
Yeah.
which subject is having the more focus for the research oriented?
Okay, it is kind of like a little difficult question, because like what I believe that if you have an ability, you can like create a market or like create an opportunity in any field. But from the Indian scenario, what I will say that the organic chemistry is an area where there is a lot of opportunity, lot of industry. They want to what I will say invest, and like as you know that nowadays the India and China relation is not good, so a lot of raw material which used to be imported from China is now been stopped, and like the government of India is promoting the Indian companies to synthesize that kind of raw materials in India itself. So there is a lot of openings or maybe the scope for the organic chemist in coming day or coming time. So yeah, so I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Anything else related to chemistry?
I think no questions, sir.
I think there is no more question. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Nice presentation you have. That I appreciated that the class chemistry, the micro reactor technology, and I will take your guidance for the postdoctoral also. Sir, you might be knowing me because you are senior to me, because I also did MSc from the Department of Chemistry, and you senior 1 year senior to me. When you was in the
Okay.
part 2, at that time I was in the part 1.
Okay. Okay. Nice to know about this. Yeah.
Yes. Nice to see you, sir, in that page. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Aisha.
And our next presenter, Honorable Dr. Rajani Bachchan, Assistant Professor of Environmental Science, Savitribai Phule University, Pune. In 2005, she awarded Hindustan Universe Fair and Lovely Foundation Scholarship to aid her PhD studies. She received a CSIR Senior Research Fellowship to complete her doctoral research. Her research is currently being funded by Department of Science and Technology University, Branch Commission to the Ministry of Earth Sciences, Government of India. She published over 30 research papers and scientific articles in peer-reviewed SCI journals and reputed magazines. Now, I would like to request Dr. Rajani ma'am to address the gathering. Zoom. Join कर रहे हैं videos का
Hello, Rajani madam, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Rajani madam?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Okay, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
I
okay.
can hear your voice, but I couldn't hear anyone else.
Okay. You can, yeah, now your session is there. Just I will ask for the introduction once again, and then you continue. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I late?
No, no, at 12:15 it is there. Okay, she will introduce you and you can start.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I urge senior research fellowship to complete her doctoral research. Her research is currently being funded by Department of Science and Technology
Nothing.
Madam, over to you. You can start your presentation, Rajni madam.
Okay, sir. I just couldn't hear anything. So I am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I can hear only Sajid, sir. I can't hear anyone else.
Yes, ma'am.
All are muted now. All are muted. That's
Okay,
why.
fine, sir. I'm just sharing my slides. Just a minute. Are my slides visible, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it is visible.
It's visible.
Yes, sir. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Before I start, if I can ask, I have 20 minutes for this presentation, followed by a few minutes of some discussion. Am I right?
Yes, madam.
Okay, fine. Good afternoon, everyone. It is indeed a pleasure. Thank you really to Bhanarkar sir and of course the principal, Dr. Sheikh, to invite me on this occasion. It's indeed a pleasure to be here. As I start, actually, I think this movement was started by Dr. Bhanarkar, where he actually, me being a person from environment and he being a person from electronics, I think he realized that there is a need for environmentalists to start talking about electronic waste from our view, because for everyone, electronic is an excess. It's like a dumping yard. They're just waste material. But beyond it being a waste material, how far reaching can be the environmental effects and what is its importance? And that is why, so you might have actually seen what I say is e-waste as a promise for sustainable future. You might be wondering, how can waste be a promise for a sustainable future? And that is what I'm here to talk about today. Here, the first sentence I've written is, it's not a necessity, it's a luxury. You might have all noticed that in one house, we have every family, and actually I should probably, even say no more a necessity, it's a luxury. Now it's again the other way around because of the pandemic. Now it is a necessity. Because of the pandemic, I think it was only the smartphones, it was the laptops, it was distance education, which became the need of the hour. And not just that, it was also the need of the hour was when we couldn't meet our parents, when we couldn't meet our children who were far, far away. It was only these electronic gadgets which really kept us connected. And that's why, right, if 2-3 years ago we said that it is not a necessity, it's a luxury, I think after the pandemic, now it has again changed. And now it has become that it is a necessity. Having said that, you can just see, just talking about smartphones, but when we talk about electronic waste, we talk about everything that runs on electricity, all the ones which have these electronic chips, all of them come under electronic waste. And the other thing is, we have bought a phone 2 years ago, and someone next to us has a new phone, and we say, oh, I want this phone. What, इसमें क्या feature है? उसमें क्या feature? तुम्हारा कैमरा मेरे से अच्छा है. अच्छा, memory कितनी है? He has a better processor. I want to play games also. I want to do everything on this. So the main thing is upgrade obsessed. And because of that, in the olden days, if people used to change their mobiles maybe after 7 years, 10 years, now it has started that people are probably changing 2 phones every year or maybe 1 phone every year. Okay, so the problem is that the e-waste is rising. And it's not just about the phone. It is about laptops. It is about telephones. It's about your videos, your everything, your what is this? Your TV screens, just your screens. You can see all these different gadgets that I've put up here. You name it and it is there. And so if you can see, it's actually saying that it is rising 3 times faster than the world's population. Okay, so you can imagine, just think, I would want all of you to just sit and think, how many electronic gadgets do each one of us, and let me say even earphones, a pen drive, all of these are also electronic gadgets. So I leave this question to you. So if you see, this is what was projected. Okay, these are the India consumer electronics, the market size. You can see if we are here, and this was probably projected even before the pandemic. And this is what is predicted for 2025. You can imagine that after the pandemic, maybe these projections need to be changed. And in that, can you see, along with the demand for electronics, you can see how the e-waste is growing. This is a projection before the pandemic. After the pandemic, I'm scared people are not ready to yet make such projections. Okay, so here you can see, I feel someone's mic is on. Okay. Given that, when you talk about this e-waste, and we can see how many metric tons it is increasing, this is for 2025, you can see that in this electronic waste, okay, is someone trying to say something? Okay, can I request people who, if they're saying, trying to say something I'm not understanding, if you could mute yourself, please. Okay, so if you see the slide here, you'll see this is just from one, this is an average. If you have, if I just give a holistic view of the electronic waste which comes out, you will see that 60% of it is metals. Okay, no doubt you have cables, plastic, PCBs. PCBs also contain a lot of metals. Okay, all this, out of which 60% of it is metals. And you'll be really interested to know, what are these metals? These are all strategic metals which are expensive, and many of them also come under rare earth metals. That is, they are very low, found in very low quantities, very less quantities in our earths, in our rocks. And what are they? You can see iron, copper, aluminum, lead, and nickel. These are all what the electronic industry needs. But what is more interesting is it is gold and silver. And it is this gold and silver that attracts everyone. Now, how does it attract people? People who are rag pickers, they want, okay, the rag pickers want all the electronic waste so that they can extract this. Even 1 gram is going to give them thousands. And we who buy our waste, I don't want to throw away my phone. I don't want to throw away my laptop. I don't want to throw away my computer screen, even if it is not starting. I don't want to donate it. Why? It has got gold and silver. And can you see how much? So the maximum amount in all this is this, where these are expensive rare earth elements, which are extremely expensive. So both the buyer or the collector wants it, and the people like us, we don't want to donate it or give it away. So if you can see an average computer, you will see what is the maximum that we can see in terms of quantity, what all is there, right? And it is sad to know that in the highest quantity, can you see how much an average computer lead? And we all know that lead is extremely, extremely toxic. Lead, mercury, arsenic, cadmium, chromium, barium, beryllium, all of them are extremely toxic. Looking at this, if you can see, this is the amount of waste, the total 16.2, 16.1. This is what is the per capita waste in 2000. I want to tell all of you that these numbers belong to pre-pandemic era. Pre-pandemic, after post-pandemic era.
चलो क्वेश्चन सेकंड और थर्ड एक साथ दे दो और सप्लीमेंट लगे तो सेकंड और थर्ड पे.
Can I ask Mirza ma'am to please mute herself? Okay. So if you see, the maximum e-waste is generated in Asia. Okay, Asia, that is 24.9 metric tons. But per capita, Europe leads the chart. It's very easy to say, oh, Asia. Obviously, we have a larger population. But if you look at the Western world, each person owns more electronic waste, and that's why per capita is really large. But if you can see here, can you see? It's only Europe which is almost recycling 50% of its e-waste. All the other countries, if you look at Africa, not even 0.9% of its waste is recycled. Most, what is Oceania? Oceania are all these countries which are around the Pacific. These small island countries. And so if you see, most of these waste are not recycled. Okay, and why is it so? It is not that there are no rules. There are rules in place. There are policies for waste disposal. There are policies of how to deal with these wastes, but it is not being done. Laws are not being implemented or enforced. Why? Please note this: lack of investment and political will. That is what is the most important thing. Look at India. Larger the state, more developed the state, more is Maharashtra produces 20% of India's electronic waste. So larger and more advanced the state, more the electronic waste is generating. And what are we doing with it? We are either reusing it, अरे काम नहीं कर रहे छोटे भाई को दे दो, गांव भेज दो, best. गांव के लोगों के पास भेज दो. That's the best thing that we can do. Another thing, what we do, if we dump it, what we do, we break it, remove some parts, whatever we can, we put it, we give it into our garbage. And what happens with this garbage? All these garbage go into landfills. Whoever knows what landfills are, you all might have seen, Delhi में हमेशा हमको न्यूज़ सुनने में आता है कि there are dumps of waste and उसमें आग लग गई. There is a lot of smoke. And we have seen this in Pune. We've had Devachi Urali. We've had we had in which is this place, Kothrood. It was called as Kachra Depot. The bus stand itself was called Kachra Depot. Why? Because that bus stop was surrounded with heaps of kachra about 20 years ago. Right? Otherwise, what do? This is very, very common. We just burn it. Any of our e-waste, you just burn it, destroy it. उसके ऊपर क्या था किसी को मिले ही ना, या recycle करना. लेकिन अभी हम लोगों ने देखा how much part of it is being recycled. But land, just disposing it into landfills has its own implications, its own complications. 3 major problems. Toxins. We just saw what are these metals, what are these toxic metals. I just showed you that all the toxic metals and elements that I just listed it out. And the main thing is not just these toxins. They have acids. We all know our batteries, our cathode ray tubes, they all have different kinds of electrolytes and weak acids. These acids, they react with the toxins. They react with the other metals and they make it all the more, they're highly inflammable and they cause explosions. Because of this, ये जो ऐसे dump किया हुआ है, इसमें आग लगती है. So there's air pollution. इसका जो भी, you also have organic waste. Organic waste means what? हम लोगों को, we are not interested in segregating our waste. हमारा खाना, हमारा wet waste, it all goes with this. It goes with the electronic waste and they make a beautiful soup, a different complicated soup. And this soup goes into our groundwater. It grows into our crops because our crops grow on soil, which are polluted by these leachates. And all this, and not just that, when all this is happening, we have different kinds of greenhouse gases. What greenhouse gases? Obviously, we know that methane comes out of most of the organic waste. We have carbon dioxide, no doubt. We have all our cathode ray tubes, or we have halogens, our AC waste, our refrigerator waste. A little older than today, they used to have hydrochlorofluorocarbons. Okay, all your fluorine or your bromine, your iodine, these kinds of halogens, when they are released, we all know that they are related to global warming and they create ozone holes. They leach up the ozone, causing ozone holes. So that's something. And this is how people would be interested in understanding what is the relation. One second. Yes. What has electronics got to do with climate change? This is what whatever the electronics is leaching out, it is causing either increase in greenhouse gases or it is eating away our ozone hole, both of which will change the temperature of the earth. Not just that, I'm going to come into it more into detail. Okay. I want you all to understand that this is the landfill area. I'm not going to go into this detail, but what I want to know is, look at the million tons of the waste generated. And e-waste makes up quite a large bit, approximately 2 million tons of e-waste. And what are we doing? We are sending it to our landfills. And what happens to these landfills? Can you just see this? Solid waste generation. In case we continue doing that, in case we keep sending all our electronic waste to, we all know that landfills occupy space. Landfills need land. And if that happens, by 2030, the waste generation will require an area equal to the size of Bangalore. Are we prepared for it? And if we are not, because we all need to understand it is not just one problem. E-waste is connected to several other, it's an economic issue. Waste is an economic issue. It is, we are going to pay more and more for the land that we want. Okay. So if we actually see, here you'll see that the global e-waste generation, there are two ways. Either there is, they call it, one is a formal sector and an informal sector. The pictures that you see here is the informal sector. And most of our waste, this is the informal sector. Most of the informal sector, out of all the waste that is generated, only 9.3 metric tons is recycled in a proper way. There is some methodology, this part of it. Whereas most of it goes into the informal sector, that is this. What do? You will just realize that they just go into the markets, pick up acids, and they dissolve the metals, or they just burn it. They just try to separate. The main problem is separation is not an easy task. Okay. And because most of these circuit boards are stuck together with different strong adhesives. Many people talk about windmills. Many people talk about solar panels as alternate energy sources. But all these also have a lot of, the windmill has a structure which is made up of material, electronic material again, in which you have the PCBs, you have the different chips, which cannot be separated. There is no way to separate the metal from the plastic, because they are interwoven, they are stuck together. And because of that, there is today, the biggest problem that we are facing today is we do not know how to recycle our production units for solar waste and also windmills. What is the difference between informal and formal e-waste management? Here in informal, they just break it manually. Okay, or they just sell it off to people, and if they have different kinds of fumes, they are inhaled. So main thing, it affects the health of the poor people who are dealing with them. And apart from them, I already told you, soil pollution, water pollution, air pollution. But if you look at the formal way, they know that they have specified chambers, they have people, they use masks, they use different personal protection gear, and then they follow a scientific method. If it's magnetic material, they'll just separate it with magnetic separators. They will probably use bioleaching for the metallic dust. Okay, so they have different ways. They know where to melt, they know where to smelt. So they have different ways with the formal sector and the informal sector. Obviously, this is a more expensive way, and this, it doesn't cost us a penny. We already know this. I'm not going to, what are the different e-ways? What do they have? And what is done? What health effects? The health effects, main thing that we all need to know is brains, kidney, circulatory system, and nervous system. Nerves and all are different kinds of, what do you say, endocrine. Endocrine means glands. They are the ones which are to be affected. What are the different problems? I was just telling you, what is the relationship? About almost when you start discarding, here I want you to see, when you discard refrigerators and ACs and they are not recycled properly, they contribute to about 0.3% of the global energy related emissions. Energy related emissions means what? Whatever, whenever we burn energy, as much of the emissions that they create. Similar to that, CO2 equivalent means not just carbon dioxide. It is carbon dioxide, methane, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, and all your halogens like fluorine, iodine, and bromine. All of these are emitted from the informal sector. You have several toxic material, like I already told you. We all know that these are more toxic than automobile pollution. Here, this is very interesting to know. In 2017, if this was it, we don't know. In just 1 year, can you imagine the energy consumed by smartphone production? For production, you need energy, right? So for smartphone production in 2012 to 2016, just in 4 years, the energy consumed increased from 75 terawatts per hour to 250 terawatts per hour. It is almost 4 times. I already told you health problems. Another thing that when we think about ourselves, we should also think about the society which works in the informal sector. Okay, so this, and you will be surprised, I'm going to show you a couple of pictures where you will see how the underprivileged, right? How the underprivileged are being affected the most. Gold mining. One thing that you all need to know, that we all need a lot of gold for all electronic industry. And this gold, how does it work? In probably 1 ton of rock, you may probably get 1 milligram of gold. So you can understand that to dig that 1 ton of rock, or for that 1 milligram of gold, how much energy, maybe human energy, machine energy, whatever kind of energy, how much energy and money are we putting in to extract this gold? So think, and when you extract this, what are you doing? You are digging up so much of land. When you dig up so much of land, you are causing deforestation. You are destroying the biodiversity there. Not just that, we are also causing contamination of groundwater and soil, right? So, and like I just told you, that separating and recycling is beyond the capability of some of the most modern plants of the world. I told you. What is this? This is a small town in Ghana, and it is really, really, really sad that this place used to be about 30-40 years ago. It used to be a wetland. What is a wetland? Wetland is where there was a beautiful river with a dam, and it had this nice wetland ecosystem, and the dam came up. And when the dam came up, there was suddenly a lot of electricity in this place. And when there was a lot of electricity in the place, people around them thought, "Arey, electricity, now we can use the television, now we can use the computer, now we can use the phone." And that is when all the poor people around, they felt the need for electronic items. So then what happened? Some people, some richer industries in Africa, they just decided to help the people, and they got in touch with the Western world, that is Europe, America, and they told them that we will buy your electronic waste, or whatever you don't want, we will buy it and we will give it to these people. We'll donate it to these people. So these people were more than happy that they got donations. And many times, even if they paid for it, it was 1/10 of the price that they would pay for a new gadget. And because of that, a lot of material started coming in. And when a lot of material started coming in, it is really, really sad to know that 75 to 80% of this material was non-usable. They wouldn't even start. And that is how this became a dumping yard of the Western world. And then it was these people who started saying, okay, we have paid money or we have got all this material and all the Western dump is here. They started recycling this waste. What do? Informal sector, they either burn it or they melt it, use acids, and they extract metals. But at what cost? You can imagine the environment that they're living in. Something similar is the Guangdong province of China. This is also called the electronic graveyard of the world. And it is really, really sad that just because these countries have poor and cheap labor, the Western dump is going here. What is this recycling happening? So what is generally happening? One second. What do? There are several methods. I already told you what they do. They separate it out, they break it. Plastic is sent for recycling. Metal is separated magnetically. The dust is bio-leached. They use different kind of, different kind of bacteria to eat up all the metals. But we forget that where will the bacteria go, which now contain all the metal? They again go back to our water or they go back to our soil. Something to remember. You do density separation, and this is how. So what happens is, it's mainly, you just separate everything and then it again goes back, right? So this is just one direction of recycling. But what I want you all to know is when we go through this recycling, we need to understand how much energy are we using. So here, if you see, the total gold market, if you see, has so many tons of carbon dioxide emissions. And why should you understand these carbon dioxide emissions? The reason being, I just told you, इतने से gold के लिए इतना सारा waste हम लोग निकालते हैं. And for removing that, what all? We are using all these different kind of energy. And for creating this energy, we are burning fuel, we are burning coal. And because of this, there is environmental degradation, which I just told you. But at the same time, there is a lot of degradation just by production of the electricity that we need to generate this. And again, when we are converting them to different forms, we are again emitting carbon-related emissions, carbon equivalent emissions. So what I'm just trying to understand, what I'm trying to tell you is, here, this is something that I'm telling you, what happens when you recycle your waste? This time, almost 2 or 3 times I've appealed to people that there is a e-waste collection drive. Please donate, please donate, please donate. And I think the biggest sources of donation would be big companies, IT companies, schools, colleges, universities. These are the largest store yards of electronic waste. Even a wire, a charger. Okay, all these are electronic waste because they have different kinds of metals or everything, right? But what we need to understand is, if there is a computer, I just showed you that if I give out a computer, I'm going to get 1.5 kgs of lead right there. I'm going to find so much amount of gold right there. I can remove that and use it for another computer. How much money or how much fuel or energy did I burn? Nothing. Or maybe, probably it'll be 1/100th of what I would generally do. But can you just see here, extracting metal from e-waste costs 13 times less than mining ore. I just told you कि when you mine ore, इतना सारा करोगे तब जाके इतना निकलेगा. But the same thing, that in case you just recycle it, can you just see this? 20 million tons is thrown annually. 1 ton of scrap from discarded computers contains more gold than produced from 17 tons of gold. 1 ton of scrap can have more gold than 17 tons of gold ore. I want you to understand the implication. We are all talking about going green. We are all talking about electrovoltaic vehicles. We are talking about we all say, oh, it's so good. I just told you the complications of solar energy. I told you the complications of what is this? Electrovoltaic vehicles. I told you the complications of windmills. We will generate electricity, fine. But to operate the windmill, we need some. After all that, where is that energy stored? We are talking about going into electronic vehicles. We need batteries. So as the need for all this unconventional energy or electronic energy we are talking about, we cannot just generate it. We need to store it also. And when we store it, or when we need to run our different equipment, we need batteries. And for that batteries, we are going to need all these metals. And what does that mean? For getting all these metals, we are again going to degrade our land. And when we are going to degrade our land, we are going to lose a lot of our environmental resources. And it is documented that the pressure is only going to increase. We want low carbon future. Okay, we want a low carbon future. But is it going to be possible? Where will we get our minerals and metals without burning the fuel that we are going to put in mining? So what is the only way? Recycling. At the moment, only 1% of rare earths are recycled. As we start electrifying and battery demand goes up, how are we going to do this decarbonization? How are we going to get all our metals and also decarbonize? The carbon emissions cannot go down if we continue mining for more metals. So what is the way? That is where I say that electronic waste is a source. We need to look at our electronic waste as a resource. And instead, what we need to do is we need to start using our electronic waste as a source of, or maybe raw material for new products. So what are people talking about? You know, there was this very small thing where he said that you can, whatever materials, the raw material, that one waste has the raw material that you need for a newer phone. The old phone has the material that you need for the new phone. And that's why he always, another thing that I always also want to tell you is, we can go to the store and choose lots of models. You can go and get any phone, but always remember that it is the industry, it is we learned people who also, we open our own, we are advisors on several company boards. We are part of several companies, producers, technology. It is us who need to think of better ways of manufacturing. Have more materials which can have a longer life. There was someone who was telling me that there was a study in which they said that जितने हजार का आपका phone है, उतने साल वो phone चलेगा. For example, if your phone is made up of, is for 1,000 rupees, it will work for probably a month or two. If it is for 4,000, it will work for about 4 months. So they generally say, and so what are you doing? Every month, every 2 months or every year, you are changing your phone because पुराना वाला खराब हो गया. कुछ नहीं खराब हो तो उसका बटन चेंज खराब हो जाएगा, उसका कनेक्शन खराब हो जाएगा, उसका सॉफ्टवेयर खराब हो जाएगा, and then it cannot be repaired, and so you want to go for a new phone. So the main thing is, it's okay to buy a more expensive and a more branded thing, but remember that it will last longer. If you buy things that will last longer, they will reduce the amount of electronic waste that you are generating. There is another thing, like I was just telling you, find new designs, find alternatives to these metals. Can we do it? We were just talking about how much gold we need for a smartphone. These Waldeck brothers, what did they do? They replaced gold with ceramic. Okay, there is something called columbite and tantalite, and this columbite and tantalite, they replaced with ceramic, and they developed such a technology, such a design, which needed lower gold. Can we do that? Because we know that gold, mining for gold has more and more emissions. Another thing, modular cell phones. In the last 3-4 years, there has been a debate over, अभी मेरे ही लैब में ऐसे होगा, मेरे 4 बच्चे हैं, स्टूडेंट्स हैं, किसी का C चार्जर होगा, किसी का D चार्जर होगा, किसी का सिंगल पिन चार्जर होगा, किसी का छोटा पिन होगा, किसी का बड़ा पिन होगा. So do we understand what is happening? You go, what will Jio do? Jio बोलेगा Jio का SIM किसी दूसरे phone पे नहीं चलेगा. So what is this? This is responsibility of the industry, the manufacturers, the producers. They need to make things, and that's why there was this huge movement where they say that single charger. We should have a universal charger. Where, and are we all prepared for that? That needs strong, stringent laws and willpower, where the designers, the producers, the manufacturers, and of course the political will. They all need to get together to be कि आज क्या है हमारा मोबाइल अगर बैटरी खराब हो गया, before there were modular phones, अब modular phones नहीं है. Actually we need to understand कि वो अच्छा था. वहां पे सिर्फ बैटरी निकाल देने से फोन तब भी चलता रहता है 4 साल 5 साल. अब क्या है, हम पूरा फोन ही फेंक देते हैं. Think about it. The last 2 slides. Another approach there are, and this is really, really interesting. I've seen this in Europe. I've seen this in Germany. And this is also true in China. I don't know how many of you know. In China, most people, they don't own their houses. The government owns the house. I don't know if it's good or bad. Similarly, even in Germany, small things like pet bottle, plastic ki bottle, pani ki bottle. Ab kharidoge, on every bottle, they would keep aside 25 cents. So 25 cents, if you have bought 10 bottles, that means 2.5 euros. So people don't throw their bottles away. They go back to the shop the next time. And what do? They return those bottles. They return those bottles so that they get back their 2.5. When we were young, many people will remember soda bottles. I remember some years ago, people used to buy liquor bottles. The rack pickers used to buy liquor bottles. They used to buy beer bottles, and people used to sell them. People used to buy them. It was a business. But now they have said, "Nahi, hum kaanch nahi lenge." Is it a good policy? At least when they are collected by a rack picker, if there is any responsible giving and taking of money, that material is sent recycled properly. So this is something, one approach could be that consumers no longer buy the products. They only buy the service. And this is something that we can really think of. This is the last slide. There is disturbance. Yeah. Like I was just telling you, one, I said that yes, maybe we can just, a company, along with the SIM card, it also gives us a phone. We use it, we only give them rent. Like the telephone company gives us telephones and we give the rent of the telephone, right? So is this possible with even cellular phones or even laptops? Can we just rent out the services and not own them? So once I'm done, it can be given to someone else. Another alternative to circuit board. It has plastic, it has metal. What people have started doing, they have started using an epoxy and chicken feathers to make this. So can we, because chicken feathers and all these are also waste. So they have used waste to produce a resource. Similarly, we need to eliminate halogens. Halogens like iodine, bromine, fluorine, just eliminate it. So you need to develop a new technology, lead-free soldering. The European Union passed a directive in which that you can only use lead. How much did we just say? Lead in one computer, 1.5 kgs. Here they have said you can only use trace amounts. So this is regulation. This is change in technology that can help us. I was just talking to you. This is the linear economy, which says that take raw material, make a product, dump it. That is a linear economy. But we are talking about a circular economy in which what do? We take, we make, then we reuse, repair, reuse, recycle, and again by recycling, making the same thing as our resource. But here we also need to understand reduce is a very important thing. And what did I tell you? Reduce, how does reduce work? Reduce works when you buy good quality things, You don't buy things which are not required. You buy good quality things which will last you for a longer time. And yes, just I would promote circular economy is setting into India. And it is people like you, me, our older generation doesn't understand, but the younger generation, the youth, it is for them to create awareness about this and reduce. So when people come, and if you don't want to donate, get up, stand up, have more collection units, and find people who will reliably do it. If you think that people are making money out of your products, but also understand what are you doing with those products, keeping them in your house for tens of years and doing nothing about it. And one fine day, someone will dump it. And then we have seen what the informal sector does. Can we all come together, maybe, start our own startup for waste management? It is very interesting. I think I don't have those slides here. It is very interesting that Government of India is giving a lot of funds to startups. It is under the IT Ministry of Information Technology. It is Department of Science and Technology, CSIR. All these are giving funds for startups which deal with waste management. Two major waste management fields are, one is biomedical waste and the other one is electronic waste. So we are really, really interested, and we are trying to see that we reduce our carbon footprint and make this a sustainable future. And that is how I say that electronic waste, and it gives so many people opportunities. It can give a lot of employment, and there is so much waste being produced. So this waste can serve as a resource and make a sustainable future. That's all. Thank you so much. If you need it, I could answer a few questions. Any questions? Are there any questions? Was anyone listening?
Ma'am, what devices are included in e-waste?
Yeah. Any question you can ask.
Okay. Any device which is connected to electricity, which needs electricity, maybe electronic, that is connected to any kind of energy. That is, it could be electronic or electricity. They're all considered an e-waste. Either they need batteries, they're connected to batteries, or connected directly to electric, the port, the switchboard. They are all considered an e-waste. For example, your earphones need to be connected to some device, and that device is electronically powered. So even anything that has any kind of, these chips, these PCBs, all these are considered an e-waste.
Ma'am, this is the topic majority of the section of the society is not aware about. So what can we do to create the awareness?
Okay, I want to ask you today, when I was presenting, did you see, did anything get your attention that this is something I didn't know? Did you think that there was something of importance when I was presenting today? Something different that you didn't know about, and you thought that I should be responsible about it?
Yes, ma'am, such as you said that lot of the metals which are quite harmful for the environment are included in these devices, which
Yes.
we need to create us care about.
Yes.
Proper disposal. Yes. So, ma'am, majority of the people doesn't know about it, are not aware about it.
Yes.
We are handy to that devices, but not pay attention towards it, the proper disposal.
Okay. The same thing. That is the same thing. Now I'll tell you, right? So what did I do? There are 2-3 ways of doing it. One, people are not interested in understanding these are toxic. Toxic bolne se nahi hoga. You will have to show them तुम्हारे आसपास how cancer is growing. Okay, how certain deformities in the body, in the food, in food products, all these are being reflected and how it is affecting their health. When you show this to people, when you give out such information to people, that time people will understand. Second, did you realize how I told you, isn't it surprising to know that 1 ton of electronic waste can produce more gold than 17 tons of mine ore from rocks. 17 tons of rocks निकालोगे तब जाके आपको उतना gold मिलेगा जितना 1 ton of waste में मिलेगा. If you tell them how much money you are spending, how much electricity, when you talk to people about their health, their life, and second about the money that they are spending, that is when they will understand. And you all should start talking about it. You all should get together and at least start doing it amongst yourself. When you all create an electronic collection center, when you are 8 person, slowly it will spread to 5 people, slowly it will spread. And when you have more responsible people with you, for example, if you have Sheikh sir, the principal who will stand up with you to do it, that is when you'll be able to make a change. Create facilities of collection and show them that we are actually doing this. The person who is going to recycle, में से एक हो, आप किसी को खड़ा करो, किसी को मिलो, ऐसे पर्सन को खड़ा करो, बोलो कि आपका वेस्ट यहाँ जा रहा है, इसके साथ हम ऐसे कर रहे हैं. If we don't do this, this will happen to our own people. Tanzeel, did you get your answer?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Question is, ma'am,
Yes, Mr. Shoaib.
can we use the branded materials, branded electronics in place of the cheap or China-made materials? So it will be help to reduce the e-waste.
No doubt. I just told you something which is branded. Why is it branded? Not say why is it branded. Branded material. The people who come from a brand are worried about their reputation. Okay, there are these brands which also come under the purview of some legality, some rules, regulations, and they are more worried. These are those people who you can also catch hold of if there is any damage to your life and property. And that's why branded people don't want to play around with their reputation. And that's why, and people also go for a brand because it is time tested that their technology and their product lasts for a longer time. That's why they are branded. That's why we call it a brand, right? But the same thing, I'm not saying China made, but anyone, even Ulhasnagar chale jao, any place which is not very branded or which doesn't have these ISI markings or these different ISO certifications, they don't last. They are made up of substandard material. That's why we get them cheaper. So when we buy material cheaper, I have seen this fashion. I'm so bored of, if I buy branded clothes, they will last. They don't tear. But the same thing, people go to street markets, buy something, and every month they will keep buying something new. By doing that, what are they doing? Okay, you're changing your fashion continuously, but you're creating more waste.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Ma'am, how do I recycle and dispose the electronic scrap? Is there any easy way to dispose the e-waste?
There is no easy
we can
way.
use in daily life.
Okay. There is only one way. That is you collect all your e-waste and dispose it to some responsible recycling agency. Now we have to look for recycling agency. जैसे मैं Pune में भी देखती हूँ, there are a few NGOs, there are a few recycling agencies. I don't want to travel 20 kilometers and give the e-waste, but we will have to do that. Or we will have to contact them. We'll tell them that I will collect this e-waste from my entire society, from my entire locality. Decide one day. Collect it. Have 4 or 5 volunteers. Collect it. And then go and get it. Or those people will also come and take it from you free of charge. If there is enough material, they will come, they'll get a vehicle, they'll put it and they will go. That is the only and the easiest way of discarding your electronic waste. Please don't throw them into water, into soil or anywhere in the open, because metals oxidize. Metals react with water to form acids. They also, batteries themselves have got acids. So there is no other easy way. The best is just collect it and hand it over to some responsible agency. And I think Sheikh Sir has already expressed that he wants to be a pioneer in taking e-waste ahead, taking e-waste recycling and management ahead. I think your college can be a very good place to start collecting e-waste.
Sure, madam. Sure, madam. We'll try definitely, and we'll take the initiative for that. And nice presentation here, madam presented in front of our student and the delegates. Very nice it is regarding the e-waste.
Thank you, sir. I just hope if it can bring about a change, I think my talk was worth it.
Yes,
I just
yes,
hope
sure,
it
madam.
starts, it
Sure, madam.
initiates a movement. Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for the knowledgeable information. Now, I would like to introduce our next representative, Honorable Dr. Yusuf Sheikh. He is having 4 years in senior college. He is the recognized research guide with Dr. B.K.N. University. He has 6 students of PhD and 2 students of MPhil in physics. Currently, 7th PhD student is working under his guidance. He has published 81 research papers in international and national journals. He has participated in more than 60 conferences. He has completed 2 minor research projects founded UGC. He has completed a minor research project founded by Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar University, Aurangabad. He is an author of 10 books of physics. He has received 4 patents. Out of these 4 patents, 3 are international innovation patents, published and granted by Government of Australia, and 1 invention patent published by the Government of India. Now, I would request Dr. Yusuf Sheikh to address the gathering.
Sir, please unmute yourself.
Yusuf sir, you are not audible. If you are there, then unmute yourself.
Hello, now I'm audible.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you, Aisha, for giving my nice introduction. Now today's keynote speaker, Dr. Raina Lampu, Director, STEM Greece, Greece Educational Advisor, Member, Ministry of Education Greece. Dr. Brijesh Sharma, Virginia Commonwealth University, United States of America. Dr. Rajini Panchang, Department of Environmental Science, Savitribai Phule University, Pune. Dr. Balasaheb Gaikar, Professor, Ahmednagar College, Chairman of BOS of Botany and Academic Council Member, Savitribai Phule University, Pune. Principal, Dr. Sajid Sheikh, sir, all the staff, all the teaching staff of Anjuman Islam Janjira Degree College of Science, students and delegate participants. Today, I am going to deliver a talk on the topic fractal in science and its applications. Friend, in the year 1970, the invention of silicon chip made revolution in computer and communication system and hence transformed a way of living our life. We have seen another revolution in 1980s that has changed our view of universe, understanding and its working after the invention of a concept of fractal theory and fractal by famous mathematician B.B. Mandelbrot. He has also declared fractal geometry as the geometry of nature. Now today, the concept of fractal theory and fractal geometry have become an important tool in understanding irregular, complex system in various scientific disciplines. What are fractals? Fractals are irregular shapes that possesses self-similarity, scale invariance, and non-integral dimensions. There are real-life examples of fractals. The shape of clouds is the real-life example, the shape of mountains, the shape of coastline, the shape of lightning, the shape of trees, the shape of snowflakes, the shape of cluster of galaxies are real-life examples. This is a shape of cloud. This is an example of real-life fractal. Now this is a shape of mountain. It is also a real-life example of fractal. Shape of coastline. You can see here 3 pictures of coastline. It is an example of fractal. Now shape of lightning. Shape of lightning is also an irregular shape and a complex shape. That is also an example of a fractal. Now this is also example of fractal because the phenomena is very complex and irregular. The shape of tree is also example of real life fractals. Shape of galaxies are an example of real life fractals. Now the branching in blood vessels. The blood vessels in the retina are self-similar and complex in nature. The branching of larger vessels looks like the branching of the smaller vessels, and the airways are also example of a fractal. The airways in the lungs are self-similar, and the branching of larger airways is like the branching of the smaller airways. This is an example of a retinal fractal shape in human eyes. The shape of brain is also an example of a fractal. Now, biological neural networks. Biological neural networks are an example of a fractal because biological neural networks are made up of a real biological neurons that are connected in the peripheral nervous system or the central nervous system are also an example of the fractal. Now, to study the complexity and irregularity, let us see the fractal geometry. Fractal geometry is geometry of irregular shapes. Now you can see that if there is a point, the point has the dimension 0. If there is a line, the line has dimension 1. If there is a surface, the surface has dimension 2. If there is a volume, then volume has dimension 3. But if there is a two-dimensional fractal shapes, then the two-dimensional fractal shape has the dimension between 1 and 2, that is 1.66 or 1.56. If the fractal shape is a three-dimensional, then its fractal dimension will be between 2 and 3, 2.66 or 2.67, like that. The standard mathematical fractal shapes are Koch curve and Sierpinski triangle, and the popular and famous fractal shapes are Mandelbrot set and Julia set. Now, how this Koch curve is formed. Let us see. If there is a line of length 1 unit, and this line of length 1 unit is divided in 3 parts. The 3 parts will be having length 1/3, 1/3. Now the central part is removed and equilateral triangle is formed over the central part. Then we obtain this type of the curve. The length of each line is 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. Total length of this curve is 4/3 units. Now in this line of length 1/3 is further divided into 3 parts, and central part is removed, and we obtain this type of the curve. Now you see, in this line there will be a curve of this type. This line of length 1/3 will be further divided like this, and this line will be look like this, and this line will look like this. The total length of this curve will be 1/3 plus 1/9 plus 1/9 plus 1/9. All total together it will be 16/9. That is equal to 4/3 square units. If we will go on repeating, or we will go on iterating the same thing, then finally we obtain the Koch curve. The fractal dimension of this Koch curve will be 1.26. Now we can see how the Koch curves are formed in this animation. In this animation, the formation of the Koch curve is shown. Now, Sierpinski triangle. Now, how the Sierpinski triangle is formed? Let us see an equilateral triangle. If you join the midpoint of this equilateral triangle and you remove the central triangle, then we obtain the first step. In the first step, there are 3 triangles. And 3 triangles, the midpoints are joined, and the central triangle is removed, then we obtain the first iterating steps. This type of the triangle. If we will go on repeating the same thing, then we reach to this stage. And further, if we will go on repeating this, then at the end we get Sierpinski triangle. Now this is the animation picture of the Sierpinski triangle. How Sierpinski triangle is formed. Initially, the midpoint of the triangle is joined, then further joining the midpoints and removing the central triangle, at the end we get a Sierpinski triangles. Now Mandelbrot fractal. Mandelbrot fractal set is a famous fractal set based on algorithm Z is equal to Z square plus C, with Z starting at 0 and varying at C. Now this is Julia set. Julia set is a famous fractal set based on the simple equation Z is equal to Z square plus C, with fixed C and varying starting value Z values. In 1970, actually this is the picture of Gaston Julia. In 1917, this Gaston Julia presented a research paper in the conference of a complex number. There he presented a theoretically Julia set. Thereafter, in the year 1980, This Julia set is plotted on the computer by IBM computer in the 1980, and this type of a beautiful picture can be seen after the death of this Julia. Cantor set. Cantor set. In Cantor set, how the Cantor set is formed? This is a line of length 1 unit, and it has this one end is 0 and second end is 1. Its equation is given by C1 is equal to 0, 1. This line is divided in 3 parts and central part is removed. Then we obtain this type of line. Central part of this line is removed. Its equation is C2 is equal to this. Now further, this line is divided into 3 parts and central part is removed. Then we obtain the equation for the third part of the this Cantor set. So if we will go on repeating the same thing, then at the end we get a Julia Cantor set. And the final equation of the Cantor set will be this. So what is Cantor set? Cantor set is what left after you are finished cutting the line, and Cantor set has the equation C is equal to intersection n is equal to 1 to infinity Cn. So this is a mathematical Cantor set. Now Maple is a technical computing software for today's engineer and mathematicians, scientists and students. By using a Maple code, the Mandelbrot set can be plotted, and you can see the Maple code for Mandelbrot set. Here this is a Maple code. That is, Maple code means it is a program used by the software Maple, and this type of the Mandelbrot set can be plotted. Now this is Julia set. The Maple code for Julia set is this. That is the program for Julia set, and this beautiful picture can be plotted by using this Maple code for Julia set. So this is a Maple code for Cantor set. So this is a Maple code for Cantor set, and this type of the Cantor set can be plotted by using this program for Julia for Cantor set. So Mathematica is a fully integrated software environment for technical and scientific computing. By using this Maple code, one can analyze image processing, or one can use this Mathematica for wavelet analysis. Here we will use this Mathematica code for the Mandelbrot set. This is the Mathematica code for Mandelbrot set. Thereafter, this is a Mathematica code for Julia set. By using this program, this beautiful picture of Julia set can be plotted. Now let us see fractal dimensions. Fractal dimension is a very good index that characterizes fractional number or irregular shapes and phenomena. So there are two methods which I am going to present here to determine the fractal dimensions, that are the box counting methods and divider compass method. In a box counting methods, determination of fractal dimension, the grid of size of box R is placed over this fractal shape, and the pattern, the number of boxes is counted here. The number of boxes and the size of boxes are noted. So number of boxes are n and size of boxes are r. So here the mesh of different sizes are placed one after the another, and the number of boxes and size of boxes is counted, and the log of r versus log of n is plotted. Here it is a plot of log of r versus log of n, which gives a fractal dimension, and here the fractal dimension is 1.494, with R square is having value 0.997, which indicate a good least square fit to the data points. The points are actual data and the line is the least square fit to the data. Now, divider compass method. In a divider compass method, a ruler of length, say delta, starts walking from one end to another end of the curve or a coastline. The total number of steps we have to take to go from one end to another end is counted. In this case, there are total 16 rulers, so n is equal to 16, and length of the coastline is approximately equal to capital L is equal to 16 times delta. For different size of ruler delta, the number of ruler n is found, and in this way the length of the irregular shapes is determined by using a divider compass methods. So here log of number of ruler n is taken on y-axis and log of size of ruler is taken on x-axis, and a graph is plotted. Slope of this graph gives a value s is equal to minus 0.614, and its fractal dimension is given by df is equal to 1 minus slope, that is equal to 1.614. Now, power law and fractal dimension. The power law between two variables CR and R can be stated as CR is equal to R raised to alpha. Here, the exponent alpha represents the fractal dimension of the shape. The fractal dimension proves a very good index for the characterizing irregular shapes. Now, self-similarity. A fractal structures are said to be self-similar if a part of the shape, when viewed closely, appears like a whole shape itself. That is, the structure looks like a reduced copy of the whole. That is, a smaller part of this cauliflower looks like a bigger one. This is a self-similarity. Now, self-similarity and scale invariance. Whenever there is a self-similarity, it implies that the object looks similar on different length scales. This is known as scale invariance. The shapes having property of scale invariance are called fractal shapes. Now, this picture shows the self-similarity. You can see that this smaller part looks like a bigger one, and this part looks like a whole image picture. So this is an example of self-similarity. Now, the scale invariance. Scale invariance, in scale invariance, the thing which is at a larger scale looks like the things at a smaller scale. This is known as scale invariance. Now, viscous fingering. Viscous fingering, when a less viscous fluid is forced into a more viscous fluid under pressure between two closely spaced parallel plates, the displacement of a fluid by less viscous one leads to the formation of a fingering-like pattern known as a viscous finger. This process is known as the fingering, viscous fingering. Now, in this picture, a viscous fingering cell is shown, and this viscous fingering shell contains two trays. The one tray is placed and another tray is placed, and in the two tray there is a very small gap, and in this small gap there is a central here nip here. Through this central an air pipe is connected. Initially the oil is inserted between the two plates. Thereafter the air is inserted with different pressures in the tray, and a fingering like pattern grows, and this type of the patterns are seen at different pressures. So we can see the live picture of the fingering patterns when the impulsive injection of the low viscosity fluid in a in impulsive growth of a fingering pattern. The process is fast enough and instantaneous. So if the fingering pattern growth is separated by its frame with respect to times, this is the first frame, this is the second frame, this is the third frame, this is the fourth frame, this is the fifth frame, this is the sixth frame, this is the seventh frame. So these are the different branches of the fingering pattern grown 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The pattern obtained in the previous slide has 9 prominent branches. For analysis purpose, the length of each branch was measured for each frame. And the time of evolution of the fingering pattern is shown in the table. Now in this table, B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, B6, B7, B8 or B9 are 9 branches. And here it is time from 0 second to 0.4375 second, and these are the number of frames. This is 0th frame, first frame, second frame, third frame, fourth frame, fifth frame, sixth frame, seventh frame. Now, as the time grows, as the time pass and the branch growth takes place, the length of the branches increases, and it is the length of the first branch, length of the second branch, length of the third branch. Like that, all this length of the branch are in millimeters, and this is the plotted, and the graph is as shown in the figure. On x-axis we have taken a time, and on y-axis we have taken velocity. Now here you can see that initially there is the growth duration is small, and the velocities are found to rise. Velocities are found to rise up to some limit, and thereafter after certain initial velocities the velocity decreases, and it is due to the fact that the low viscosity fluid air was injected instantaneously into the oil. These are the fingering pattern grown at different pressure. It is the fingering pattern grown at low pressure. It is the fingering pattern grown at medium pressure. It is the fingering pattern grown at moderately high pressure. It is the fingering pattern grown at high pressure. Now, the insertion plot for a low pressure and medium pressures are shown here. And there are 2 parts of the graph. This part of the graph is for a smaller stride length. This red part in the low pressure and red part in the medium pressure are for smaller stride length. The fractal dimension in this region are 1.21 and 1.26. This is for a larger stride length. In low pressure, this is the larger stride length for medium pressure. Fractal dimension for larger stride length in low pressure is 1.66, and fractal dimension in medium pressure for larger stride length is 1.71. This is the same graph plotted for moderately high pressure and for high pressure, and fractal dimensions are found 1.31 and 1.3 in moderately high pressure and moderately high pressure and high pressure, and structural fractal dimensions are given by 1.66 and 1.62 for a larger stride length. Now, this is the paper which we have presented in a journal, International Journal Fractals, and these are the figures from our papers which is presented on the front page of the journal. Now, what are application of fingering pattern, viscous fingering pattern? Viscous fingering pattern is a phenomena that has a large number of applications, such as underground oil recovery, for which viscous fingering takes place when an aqueous solution displaces more viscous oil in underground reservoirs Only because of this reason, numerous papers devoted to the theoretical and experimental analysis of fingering phenomena have been appeared in the petroleum engineering community. Viscous fingering is also used in the liquid chromatography to separate the chemical components of a given sample by passing it through a porous medium. These applications are reported in the Journal of American Institute of Physics, Physics of Fluids in the year 2005. Now, this is a math romance cartoon. If you got bored, then you can see this cartoon. And here, one can take a square root of a law and let us see what answer comes. One can take a cosine of law and see what comes. One can take a derivative of law. One can take an matrices of law. One can take a Laplace transform of law. You just take a normal approach. And this is the electrodeposition. Electrodeposition phenomena. In this electrodeposition phenomena is a chemical process governed by chemical process. It is chemical process governed by the influence of applied electric field and the diffusion or drifting of ions due to the thermal or Brownian motions. Now this is the electrodeposition cell. It is made from a square 300 millimeter by 300 millimeter square sheet and a round wall fixed using a chloroform and aneroid ring is placed around this central cathode in the cell. And electrodeposition studied in different conditions, and that different conditions are different cell voltage and electric field and different concentration of electrolytic solution. Now this is a real-time growth. This is electrodeposition experimental setup. This is first part is for recording a real-time growth, and second part is for used to interface a data acquisition system to control the operating conditions like voltage and current of the cell. Now, copper electrodendrites is grown under a constant cell voltage, that is 10 volts, and in a circular electrodeposition cell, there is a central cathode and it is surrounded by a circular anode, and a copper sulfate solution is poured in this, and the pattern is grown, and the pattern looks like this. The pattern is grown. This is a fractal pattern grown in electrodeposition, and these are the different stages of electrodeposition pattern. These are stages with respect to time, and here is the table which shows the length of different branches with respect to time. This is a rate of deposition of growth in millimeter per minute with respect to time, and these are the plots of growth rate. The growth of branches 1, 2, 3 is slightly different, whereas the branch 4 and 5 is more or less identical. However, in all cases, the growth is monotonously increasing with time. In this plot showing a mean growth rate of deposition for all 5 branches, the growth rate is more or less constant. It is constant with slight indication of increase with respect to time as seen in the plot. Now, what are application of this electrodeposition? The process of electrodeposition is very important. It has number of applications from electronics, microelectronics to nanoparticle growth. Zinc nanoparticles were grown in silica film by electrodeposition techniques, which is reported in the Journal of Physics and Chemistry B in the year 2006, and preparation of dendritic tin nano aggregates by electrodeposition method is reported in the Journal of Science, Journal of Non-Crystalline Solids in the year 2003. electrolysis deposition. Electrolysis deposition is a deposition when a metal is in contact with a solution containing ions that are more electropositive ions that gets deposited on the metal surface. As an example, if a piece of iron wire is dipped in a solution of copper sulfate, then copper sulfate gets deposited on the iron. The deposition takes place in the absence of an external applied EMF due to the difference of position of cations in the electrochemical series. And this electrolysis deposition, it do not require electrodes. Metals at the top of the electrochemical series are good at giving away electrons. They are good reducing agents. Metals ions at the bottom of the electrochemical series are good at picking up the electrons. They are good oxidizing agents. As you go up in the series, the oxidizing agents ability of the metal ions increases. Now you can see here a table of electrochemical series from gold to calcium. Here on the copper sulfate solution, Cu plus electron, and it has an electrode potential of 0.521, whereas aluminium has electrode potential of minus 1.662. So this copper tries to deposit on aluminium and it deposits on a paper. This is the electrodeposition cell. You see its construction. On both the sides there are glass plates. A piece of paper is placed on aluminium plate. The two plates are sandwiched between two glass plates. Aluminium plate on which the paper is placed. Aluminium plate is covered by paper and glass is sandwiched, and the copper sulfate solution is sprayed on the aluminium plate and allowed to remain for a few hours. Then a pattern like this is grown. These are the pattern grown, and these patterns are obtained with a 0.5 molar copper sulfate solution, and it is growth of 6 hours. Now this is electrolysis depositions obtained at 1 molar copper sulfate solution. This is electrolysis growth patterns grown, and its fractal dimension is determined, and its fractal dimension is 1.799. Now this is a beautiful picture of electrolysis deposits which exhibit similarity and scale invariance. It is a fractal structure having a fractal dimension of 1.77. The two electrolysis deposits, depending on the local conditions at the time of growth, the linear growth is a linear, and at a time it is a radial. The second figure is a blackened than the first. It is due to the oxidization on standing for a few days. These are again a picture of electrolysis deposits. Electrolysis deposition has been used for many applications. It has been found that nanowires can be grown by using electrolysis deposition techniques. Zhongling Singh demonstrated that the PD nanowires can be grown by electrolysis deposition in a short time of 2 minutes. These are scanning electron microscope photograph of the sample is shown here. Scanning electron micrographs of a copper grown by electrolysis deposition from 1 molar copper sulfate solution at different resolution is shown here. These are the SEM images, and here you can see the sizes of the particle: 0.20 micrometer, 0.29 micrometer. Here it is the size of the particle is 22.3 nanometer, size of the particle is 21.4 nanometers. Now, as we have seen, the electrolysis deposition chemically is computer simulation can also be studied. And in a computer simulation, the concept of lattice walk is used, and the ion in electrolytes are under influence of electric field, forcing positive ions towards the central cathode, and the ion perform a random movement due to the presence of Brownian motion and tries to go to the center, but due to the presence of Brownian motion, it performs a random walk and ultimately stick to the central cathode. And here the central drift is determined by the bias. If bias is 0.1, it means that 0.9% it will move random, and 0.1% it will go towards the center. Bias 0.2 means 0.2% it will try to go to the center, and 0.8% it will move in a random direction, perform a random walk. And at the end, we will be able to get a picture like this. This is a picture for a bias 0.001, and number of particles sticking are 1500. This is a growth pattern of a bias 0.3, and number of particles grown here is a 1500. This is actually a live simulation of growth, and the dimension of the pattern grown by simulation can be determined. It is the graph of for bias 0.001, and its fractal dimension is 1.59. It is again between 1 and 2. So this is a graph for bias 0.3, and its fractal dimension is 1.63. This is a drift of center of mass. In a simulation, as the particle grows, as the particle stick to the central, its center of mass goes on changing and it shifts, and its graph is shown here like this. On y-axis there is a drift in center of mass, and on x-axis there is the number of particles attached. Now biological fractal are fractal shapes. Now biological bacterial colonies are grown, and that is shape are fractal shapes, and its fractal dimension is also determined, and it is found that it has a fractal dimension of like 1.778, 1.70, and these are the different graphs for different images. Now, these are the shape of coronary artery trees, and these shapes are fractal shapes, and its fractal dimension is determined, and these are the brains, shape of brains, its fractal dimension is determined, and it is found that it is 1.678 between 1 and 2. Now this is the brain cell, which is example of a brain cell, example of a fractal, and fractal dendrites. Brain cell are fractal dendrites, and these are the airways, and its fractal dimension is determined. These are the airways in lung, its fractal dimension determined, it is 1.63. Now these are the natural deposit found, and its fractal dimension is determined, and its fractal dimension is found here. It is 1.72, it is 1.69, like that. And these are the legs, and the legs are irregular. These legs have irregular shapes. They are irregular and complex shapes. So its complexity and irregularity is determined, and its fractal dimension is determined. How these legs are formed? These legs are formed as a consequence of a number of natural processes. This includes the water flowing into and out of water body, erosion by vegetation and other influences. The majority of cases, naturally occurring lakes are found in hilly regions or near hill territories. The inflow of sand, sleet degrades the topology, the depth and capacity. Such influences result in a rugged profile to the structures. Thus, how these shapes are grown. We studied the geometry of selected lakes by using a concept of fractal and fractal geometry. These lakes were characterized for details and complexity associated with their shapes. Box counting techniques described earlier is used for determining the fractal dimension. Richardson plot technique is also used to determine the structural and textural details of the shape of the lakes. This is a Bonar Lake of USA. Its shape is extracted and black and white image is found and its fractal dimension is determined. This is a Petrozoa lake in Finland. And these pictures are taken from a Google Earth, and it is fractal dimension, is fractal analysis is performed. This is Oulu Lake from Finland. And these 4 lakes is analyzed and its fractal dimension is found to be 1.88 to 1.78. Similar to this, a Stardust Lake from USA, the Toronto Lake from USA. This is a lamb near Hingoli in Maharashtra, India. And this is a complex, this has a complex shapes. This is a dam near Digras from Maharashtra. This is a Kankaria Lake from Ahmedabad. This is a Lonar Lake from Maharashtra. And this is a Lonar Lake from Maharashtra. And this is Jaikwadi Dam near Paitan. It also has a fractal shape. Its fractal analysis is performed. And this is a dam near Pusad. And it is a dam near Isapur Dam near Hingoli. Now these are the fractal dimension. Its box counting dimension is determined, and it is found that it has a dimension between 1 and 2, and its R square value is found here. And fractal dimension of box counting and Richardson plot technique is also applied, and it is given here in the table. Now this is a cartoon. Now rescale range analysis of time series. Rescale range analysis is actually a mathematical model. Through this mathematical model, some data is passed and Hertz exponent is determined. And Hertz exponent is determined. Hertz exponent is H. This Hertz exponent H determines the complexity and irregularity of the data. If the value of this Hertz exponent is found between 0.5 to 1, then it has a persistent trend. That is, whatever is changing in past, the same thing will change in the future. And if the value of H is found between 0 and 0.5, then the trend is reverted. That is, if it is changing in past, then it will change in, it will decreasing in past, then it will increase in the future. So by using this rescale range analysis can be used in a analysis of economic data, monthly profits, meteorological data, rainfall data, wind speed, crime figures, employment figures, and so on. Here we have applied this data to the maximum and minimum temperature and found that this maximum and minimum temperature are showing a persistence trends. We have also analyzed humidity at AM and PM and found that its Hertz exponent lies between 0.9 and 1, and it shows the persistence of the trends. Now, fractal analysis of human hearts. Now, friend, this slide shows ECG, and in ECG, number of bits versus time is plotted, and here the first picture, this picture shows a irregular and complex curve. If the curve of the patient is irregular and complex, then it is a normal patient. If the shape of the curve is less complex, less irregular, then he is a cardiac patient, that is heart disease patient. If the fluctuation function Fn versus n raised to lambda is plotted, and Fn is taken on y-axis and n bit number is taken on x-axis and plotted, and if the graph is parallel to the normal line, that is the alpha has a 0 value, then it is a normal patient. If the value of alpha is 0.5, the line is parallel to this line which has a slope 0.5, then it is a cardiac patient. So similarly, if a power spectrum is plotted and value of beta is found to be a -1 and the line is parallel to this, it has some slope, then it is a cardiac, it is a normal patient. And if the power spectrum is plotted and the curve is parallel to x-axis, that is the beta has value 0, then it is a cardiac patient. So this is a fractal analysis. Now, if we will see in normal retina, and we will determine a fractal dimension of the central part of the normal retina, then it is around 1.45, and this is a periphery part and its dimension is determined, it is around 1.38. And if this is a patient which is having a disease, a retinopathy, its dimension of a central part is determined and it is found that it is 1.242, like that. So the dimension of the normal person's retina, central retina, are more than the dimension of retinopathic the patient. So these are the, now fractal analysis of brain can also be done. Now this is the brain, human brain, which is showing the convoluted cortex, and this is the brain. This brain has a volume of approximately 1500 centimeter cube. Now these human brains are having large number of neurons, and these neurons are hippocampal neurons. This is the image of neurons. These neurons, hippocampal neurons, are shown here by a green color, and the glial cell are shown by a red color, and this is a fractal. These neurons are also having a fractal nature. Now, the fractal pattern are also seen in semiconductor magnetism. Fractal patterns have been observed for the first time at the quantum scale, and the implications and applications are given here. These are the picture of a fractal pattern seen in semiconductor magnetism, and these are the picture of magnetic fractal. Now, there are some applications in the gravitation in the space-time with fractal dimensions and modified Lorentz transformation, and also telecommunication. Fractal antennas are used. Nowadays, our mobile has no antenna. Its antenna is inside its body. It is because it is a fractal antenna. Earlier, the antenna was outside. Now, this is an example of a fractal. This is used in a telecommunication. And fractal image compression is also used. And this image compression is very nice, because when the picture is compressed and when picture is enlarged, it do not pixelizes. Now this is a digital art fractal. This is also a digital art fractal. This is a flower fractal. This is a Larry Carson fractal. This is a fractal jungle. This is a rainbow fractal. This is a flowering fractal. This is a fractal art. This is a fractal on the t-shirt, which is a fancy fractal. This is a tattoo of veins and arteries in the shape of trees. And these are some books for further study. If someone is interested, you can take down. And thank you for patient listening. And this is my address if someone needs. Over to Sheikh sir and Aisha. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir. Very nice presentation you have delivered, and it is very useful thing you have taught.
Thank you, sir, for giving a valuable knowledge.
Yeah. Anybody can ask if anybody has some queries or doubts.
Now, last but not the least, presenter is Honorable Dr. Balasaheb M. Gayekar. He is publisher
Gaikar sir is there?
46
Gaikar sir is there?
research papers in international and national journals. He has completed 2 research projects funded UGC and 1 BCUD project. Dr. B.M. Gayekar received a scheme of rupees 3 lakh from BCUD University of Pune entitled Biodiversity Conservation of Forest. Dr. B.M. Gayekar received a scheme of rupees 3 lakh from BCUD University of Pune entitled Biodiversity Conservation of Forest. Biodiversity Conservation of Forest Pocket of Ahmednagar District 2008 to 2010. He guided 5 students of PhD. He awarded herbal oral contraceptive formulation of female in 2022. Biodiversity Conservation of Forest Pocket of Ahmednagar District 2008 to 2010. He guided 5 students of PhD. He awarded herbal oral contraceptive formulation of female in 2022.
Gaikar sir, are you there?
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Shoaib sir. Shoaib sir.
Yes, sir.
Proceed for the presentation. Sir is in the meeting because due to the delay, sir going to the meeting. You can continue with the presentations.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay. Ask everybody to join their group. Group is assigned there, and respected chairperson has to join that particular break room. Breakout room is there.
Yes, sir.
Open room. Open.
Sonali pattern, Sonali pattern is not there, sir.
Please join in the breakout room, which is open right now. फोन किस में मेरे पास एक बैक टू बैक 2 पेज पे दे मार के चारों पे सर वेलकम तुपारे सर शिंदे सर ठाकुर सर
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
मिर्जा मैडम राजबोस सर सोनाली
Good
पाटिल
afternoon,
मैडम
sir.
जयश्री पाटिल मैडम
Good afternoon, sir.
गुड आफ्टरनून
Good afternoon, madam.
You can join the corresponding that thing. Have you received that? That group number 1. Tupare sir and Sonali madam in the group number 1. Group number 2.
Okay.
Group number 2, there will be the Thakur sir and Jayashri madam. Group number 3, there will be Rajbos sir and Shaina madam. And group number 4, Shinde sir and Bhanuprasad sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, sir. Join करतो.
Okay, sir. मिर्जा मैडम ग्रुप नंबर 3 में ज्वाइन किया ने आपने
नहीं, ग्रुप नंबर 3 में नहीं किया सर.
ये कौन सा है ग्रुप?
ये कौन सा है ग्रुप सर?
1 second, just I will check.
हमने डायरेक्ट जूम के लिंक पे क्लिक किया है.
हाँ 1 second, just I am making that. तुपारे सर गए शायद ग्रुप नंबर 1 में. हाँ शाइना मैडम.
Yes, sir. Please put me in that group, sir.
Okay, just I am putting. Yeah.
Sajid sir, in which group I am there?
Which name you are, sir?
Badgujar sir.
Okay, Badgujar sir. Badgujar sir. है उनका presentation में.
I have sent sir full paper today.
Yeah. Yesterday you received that call about that presentation. Our clerk asked that who is going to present. At that time you have submitted the name.
No.
Then your name will not be there. That's why the name is not there.
So join me any group.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah, you can join anyone. You can join anyone. You can select manually.
Okay. No problem.
Okay. Zueb? वो ये है ना, पेपर प्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं ना। करने दे, जाने दे, हाँ। जिसको पेपर सुनने का वो करेंगे ना। हाँ। बाकी सब रूम में हुए क्या? हेलो।
Hello. 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 Hello, Shruti madam. Probably around and Hello. Am I audible?
सर क्या बोल रहे हैं?
Hello.